good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Don Hewitt, I think everybody knows me by now. Appreciate everybody making the field trip down here to Rumpke. This is so far so good. I don't know what's behind the wall, but it looks great. Who was listening to 700 WLW coming over? 10 till Jay Bruce was doing a Rumpke recycling commercial as I was driving down. So I was like, hey, this is really timely. All right, so I'm going to be brief. Just want to make sure everybody knows. Did everybody get the newsletter emailed to them? Well done by Linda and crew. But August 14th, we're having our annual Northwest Local School District update. Dr. Andrew Jackson is going to be presenting, and if you've been reading the Northwest Press, a lot going on there with the school board is usual. So hopefully he'll give us some encouraging news. Also, I think everybody's been reading the papers. Two really big things going on in the township. One is the JED zone that the township is proposing. A lot of information's been disseminated already on that. There's a hearing coming up. What's the date on that? Do we know? 22nd. And I've been getting a lot of questions, and I know there's been a lot of discussion. And I think everybody needs to get engaged on this topic. Long story short, as we all know, our township's looking for revenue sources, and we have some deteriorating assets in our community, not the least of which is our streets. And so, this is one avenue. We'll find out how viable it is to help plug the gap. The second piece is the Rumpke proposed settlement, and I was in a meeting the other day with Jeff and Jim Rowan. Guys, I read through this, and there's a lot of technical stuff that I don't begin to understand about landfills and measurements and this and that and the other, but I do know that this has been going on since 2006. And I know a lot of effort's gone on into this agreement. Certainly is a significant impact to the community, both the presence, but also if the agreement goes through economically. Rumpke would certainly be adding a lot to the coffers to the township, which is going to help with things like streets and parks and things like that. So it was in the Northwest Press yesterday. Pretty detailed article. But I wanted Jeff to elaborate a little bit on his perspective, and then hopefully everybody will certainly be engaged for the meeting. As soon as he's wrapped up, we're going to go ahead and transition to Rumpke's presentation and do the tour, and then we'll come back here to wrap up. All right, Jeff.
Good morning, all. My name's Jeff Rumpke. If you don't know me, I'm the regional vice president here at Rumpke, which basically means I'm responsible for all our operations here within the greater Cincinnati area, including landfill, recycling, our hauling companies, and sales efforts and other things we do. So this operation here is key to what we do. We do a lot of things at Rumpke, but we look at our job basically as being someone who's going to manage that waste stream and try to get materials to their best end product. We want to give our customers options, the availability to do the best things with the materials, whether that's disposal, recycling, reuse, whatever. So, that's what we see our role. Landfill is certainly a big piece of that, and recycling is a big piece of that. And so for this facility in particular, we've been down here since 1991. I actually opened this place up in 1991, and it's gone through several iterations and changes. And with where we're at now, I would say that this is the most sophisticated, best recycling facility in North America. It is. We've traveled the country. We went into Canada, and really spent a lot of time and plan this thing out. I say a lot of time, but we had to do it in short fashion. On April 10th, 2012, I'm sitting at my son's baseball game over at Hobner Field, and I get a phone call about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and said, we got a problem. And so, we had a fire here at the facility, burnt the old plant down almost to the ground. We were able to save some of it, and so I came in here that evening about 5:30, 6 o'clock to a burning building, and the fact that I had 80 trucks that had to go pick up 40,000 customers the next morning. We've got, we have over 200,000 customers we're servicing on a weekly basis. So it was quite a trying time. And we came in and, like I said, I got 80 recycling trucks, probably closer to 100 when you look at our commercial side of recycling trucks that are going to go pick up material tomorrow morning. And some of them are rolling out in 7 or 8 hours. And so we went through a huge effort, and our management team came together, and our whole Rumpke crew came together, and I'm really proud of the way that our group came together through that whole time period, did not miss a service. We were able to move our operations around and make adjustments, and it was a rough 16 to 18 months. So before we got this plant up and running, we took about 6 months to do planning, traveling the country, design work, and we took about a year to build this building and get all the recycling equipment and up and running. So it was a real testament to our people that we could do it that quickly. In the meantime, we were shipping material to Dayton and Columbus and Indianapolis, but the end result is I don't know that we ever would have built a facility like this if we didn't have that tragic event happen to us. So out of the ashes, we put together a really nice facility, and right now we're doing about 600-700 tons a day, 13,000-14,000 tons a month coming through this facility. The entire time I've been involved with recycling, we've been pushed. We've had just more material coming at us than we could handle sometimes, and this facility gave us the opportunity to build for the future. So now we're in a position where we've built for the future, and we're looking for more material. We're looking for more recyclables. We continue to try to grow this side of the business, and right now we're running about a shift and a half, probably not even a shift and a half, just a little over a shift and maybe a piece. We want to run 2 full shifts, and the recycling and the processing of the materials, it makes sense. Not every situation for recycling makes sense. Logistics come into play, but recycling is a thriving business. What we're doing here is we're collecting and separating real commodities. So, every product that we deal with has its own market, and there's indexes just like a regular commodity that any manufacturing facility would put out. So it truly is a real business. And recycling, people think of recycling as this green little thing that people do, or some people think that way. That's not the case. This is a thriving business, and for recycling to be successful, that's what it needs to be. It's complex. It's like any other business, and like I said, you're going to see one of the best ones around today. As I said, we look at our job as being, kind of managers of the waste stream, and a big piece of that is recycling. A growing piece is recycling, but as far as I can see, the need for landfill is not going to go away. That being said, we've gone through the zoning process with the township, and have been through the court systems, and the things kind of coming to a head with an additional court case on the horizon. And with that happening, we have met with township officials, and come to a settlement agreement that I think is fair to both sides. The township certainly, there are a lot of financial benefits that are going to help the township fill their gaps and meet their needs. So there is a meeting on the 21st. We support the settlement. We want the settlement to happen. We think it makes sense for the township. It was not with a lot of give and take on both sides. I think in this situation, you walk out of those kind of negotiations and talks with, as someone described yesterday, both sides kind of limping. Feel like, no one's feeling like they hit a home run here, but we think it's something that's fair. It's needed. It'll help the township. It gives us the opportunity to continue to do our jobs into the long term, and I think it's something that we should all support, and I would ask you to do that through an email to the township or through standing up at the meeting on the 21st and saying that you support it. So when you look at that situation, I think what you need to realize is that the settlement is what needs to be supported because it's beneficial to both sides. And so I would ask that you take the time to do that, write an email, show up at the meeting, and like I said, I think it's a fair compromise for both sides. And it was a long, drawn-out process. So that being said, we'll get back to recycling. So we're going to watch a short video. Brad Dunn's back here. He's the plant manager. If you have any questions, you can ask him or myself. I'm pretty involved. Ann Gray's going to give the tour, and Jonathan is here for questions too. Jonathan Kissel's our media person. Many of you know Amanda. Amanda's still out on maternity leave. So I hope you enjoy the video and the tour, and we'll be here to answer questions. It is a little bit loud in the plant, so when we get you going, you will have to put on these headsets and do all the safety equipment. While I'm here on the podium, anybody have any questions before we get going? Yeah, go ahead, Don.
You and I had a discussion quite a long time ago about the cost to the resident.
Right.
And I was aware that some communities basically force it where it's available to all participants, but it's like baked into the cost of property taxes or whatever. And in Colerain Township, they've taken the other approach where you have to opt in and basically pay for it.
Right.
Is what we're doing in Colerain, is that the norm, or what do you see? Because obviously, if you're looking for product coming in the door,
right,
how the community positions recycling is going to affect how much volume you use.
Generally speaking, townships are on a subscription basis for waste collection and recycling. Cities contract, and they'll collect the fees through their taxes. And generally, the cost for recycling is pretty similar whether you live in a township or a city. It's just how they collect the money to pay for it. Most people move to townships or live in townships. They want, choice. They don't want as much government in their lives type of situation. And generally, townships have stayed out of doing the contracting for waste and recycling collection. So, there's two sides to that argument. You can say, we don't want government involved with every little decision in my life, and I understand that. And we give we provide the same service whether you're in the township. It's just you're seeing it if you live in the township. You're seeing what you're paying for. In the city, they're coming and they're grabbing it from you, and you don't really have the choice. For instance, the person living in a city will be paying for the recycling service that they may or may not use in the township area. You're deciding what you're paying for. So, we generally have not been, it's really up to the local government how they want to do that. And so we've looked for other avenues of how to increase recycling in those areas through drop-off programs and things that are free to the resident. And, so, I wouldn't really get into being someone who supported one way or the other the decision of local governments and how they operate. We can do a lot of things in townships to increase recycling, and we've tried to do that. But certainly, if someone doesn't know they're paying for something, they're more likely to use something that they perceive as free, right? So, it's kind of a double-edged sword. That we're the service provider. We want to make the customer or give them the options that we can to satisfy their demands. So, yeah.
2 points, Jeff. Back when you made the decision to rebuild the plant, did you consider like modified European plan where things are done at curbside, actual sorting, or containers that do the pre-sort, or at the actual driver
Right.
doing the pre-sorting?
We did all that in the beginning. I started my full-time work life in 1990, and that's how it was then. And since that time, the industry, especially in the United States, has gone to what's called single-stream recycling, which means you mix everything together, excuse me, and it's separated at a plant like this. We found that it's a more efficient way. I mean, you have spent a lot of time on the street with the driver sitting there manually sorting things. So we've also found that people will participate more. They'll put more material out if you make it real easy for them. So right now, I'm sure you've seen the green recycling cart. Now we used to have the little red bin. A lot of people still do. So we made the cart available, and so it makes it real easy for people to put more in. We've seen significant bumps in volume. I'll give you an example. The city of Cincinnati, which we contract with, they were doing about 1,000 tons a month of recyclables, maybe closer to 900 tons a month of recyclables. They went to a cart program, and we're now doing like 1,500. Yeah, so we saw like a 66% increase in their volume that was collected when we went to the carts. And there are cities around the community, around the greater Cincinnati area, that are going that way to the carts, and we've seen significant increases in volume year over year. When I first came down here, we were doing maybe 1,000 tons a month back in 1990. We're doing 13,000, 14,000 now. But to give you perspective, so we're doing about 13,000, 14,000 a month. At our landfill, we're still taking in about 6,000 a day. So you're looking at, still a significant delta, and a good percentage of what's going into that landfill can still be recycled. So, we're continuing to do marketing efforts and like to try to make things more easier for people, so they'll do it more. But there's still a long way to go, and we've got, hopefully in 10 years, and we'll be adding on to this or building another one of these somewhere else, and it'll continue to grow. But it's a process, and this facility puts us well on our way to moving down that road. So, yeah.
With technology, you never say never, but do you ever see the possibility of out there on the Colerain Township, everything goes through some sort of conveyor belt and all garbage is sent one way, all recycling sent another way?
That's done in different places. The issues that you have with this type of curbside recycling that we're doing from the resident is that the material becomes contaminated, and that's been a challenge. I mean, you go to a paper mill, and the guy sitting on the dock opens up the back doors to take that paper out to run it through a pulper, and it smells like yesterday's lunch or whatever, and those guys close the doors and they say, "Get out of here." And so, I mean, that's been the problem with those types of operations, is the quality of the material that you can get out. Because like I said, these are commodities. They have options. Okay, if I can't make this paperboard out of this recycled product, I can use timber and it's clean. And ultimately, our end users are trying to make a product that they can sell. You know, they're not necessarily into recycling. They're into selling paper and selling products so that's been the challenge with those types of things. But yeah, there are, especially on the commercial side, there's a lot of effort to maybe cut that waste stream, and you know, we've looked at those, and we do that to some degree here, but to take just a general waste stream, there's a lot of problems on the back end of that process, and it's from a health and safety standpoint, it's difficult to do that. I mean, you're dealing with people handling material that, you know, you never know what you're going to get. So health and safety is a big issue with doing that as well. Yes.
Yeah, is there still a separate charge for recycling?
In township areas, there is.
What is the price now?
I think in Colerain it's $2.60 maybe, $2.60 a month, something like that, $2.60 or $2.70.
That's part of the problem. Yeah, I know it's not much money, but
Yeah.
still look at that way when we take it out.
Right. And I always say, I mean, we can operate and make money sorting and recyclables. The issue is coming to your house and picking it up. You know, that's where the costs, where we can't cover all those transportation costs. Certainly, if the material was sitting at our door, we can do fairly decent with that and run a successful business. But to drive around to your house and pick it up from you 4 or 5 times a month, that's where the cost gets a little turned upside down, and we need a little fee. I mean, that whatever that fee is, to the $2.60, that doesn't cover all the transportation costs to come to your house every week. I mean, that's a piece of it. It's being offset by, you know, the value of the material and so forth.
Is there a place we can take it to instead?
There's right at the township building, right behind the township building, there's containers. Yeah.
I was going to ask the same question. We take our stuff over to the township on a regular basis, and we have a van that we accumulate it in the office and
Right.
home and take it over. Occasionally, they're full, it's
Right.
overloaded. Is there another place that we can take it in addition to that?
There is. I don't know all the locations off the top of my head. Blue Rock Park. I just talked to Jim Rowan this week, and we're putting some additional containers at the site at the township building, and they should be delivered this week. So
The locations are listed on Rumpke's website. You can type in your zip code and it'll pop up a map that shows where they're located within the township.
yes,
I used to work for the Federal Reserve Bank, and we had a container, we called it the Green Monster. And at one time, it was still coming out into your landfill. Does it now go through this paper recycling?
my memory of that, we tried that down here. When I was down here, we took that load and tried to do it, and I want to say there was some kind of issue where, I can't remember all the issues surrounding it, but I know at one point it was coming into our old plant here. I can't recall what's happening with it right now. What's that? Yeah.
That's correct. There used to be all kind of Secret Service rules on it not going back into paper,
Right.
because they could no longer testify these fibers are not in any other paper other than currency. But yeah, the cotton, the rag content has been a problem. Thank you.
We better get down to, we're going to be pushing time for sure, so you want to kick up the video, and then the video is about 10 minutes, and then we'll get out on the tour.
As long as mankind has existed, people have thrown away stuff. As more and more of us populated the planet, we threw away more stuff. Today, humans generate vast rivers and huge mountains of garbage. But in recent years, we've found ways to draw valuable resources from what we throw away, resources we can use again and again. It's called recycling. As one of America's largest family-owned waste and recycling companies, Rumpke recycles more than 700 million pounds of glass, paper, aluminum, and other materials from throughout much of Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, and West Virginia each year.
My family has been involved in recycling and managing the waste stream for generations.
By going to work with my dad as a very young child, working on the truck with him, going out with him, seeing the enjoyment that he got, it was something that I wanted to be part of.
We know we're in a tough business. We know that, what we do isn't always pretty, but it's necessary, and we want to do the best job we can at handling those materials and really be a first-class operation.
Rumpke's story dates back to the Great Depression in the early 1930s. Founder William F. Rumpke had a coal delivery service. Customers bartered with whatever they had, including chickens and pigs.
This farm right here where we're standing, there was an 80-acre tract where we start dumping here in the beginning. We bought all the existing land around it. Now we got about 1,100 acres here in all. Started out, maybe we had 50, 100 hogs. It grew to 2,000 hogs at one given time.
To keep the animals fed, William hired his unemployed nephews to collect garbage from area restaurants. In the 1940s, salvaged metal, scrap rubber, and other materials helped fuel the war effort. Trucks dumped waste into a pit at the Rumpke farm, where it was loaded onto a conveyor belt. Workers sorted out mainly metals, glass, and rags, then sold the materials for about $40 per ton. Food scraps were fed to the hogs and other livestock. In the 1950s, a new law required food waste to be cooked before it could be fed to livestock. That law changed the course of the Rumpke family business. With his youngest brother, Bernard, as his partner, William decided to sell his livestock and focus on collecting and disposing trash, taking it to the landfill in Colerain Township.
Here at Rumpke Sanitary Landfill, we're permitted to take about 10,000 tons of solid waste a day. We're currently taking about 6,000 tons a day. There's only so much waste that you can compact into an area that's developed for landfills. So it's very important that we continue to try to reduce the waste that comes into this location so we can make it last longer and we can save that space for those materials where there just isn't a market yet.
In 1986, the Rumpke Sanitary Landfill near Cincinnati became one of the first landfills to recover methane and other natural gases generated underground by the decomposition of organic materials.
Behind us we have our gas recovery plant. What's happening here is we have a series of pipes and wells that collect that gas. This plant separates the CO2 from the methane and puts the clean methane into the pipeline. Most landfills currently burn their gas off, so they collect it and vent it off and burn it so that it's not going into the atmosphere. Here we're capturing that gas and using that gas for a beneficial use. There's enough gas produced from this landfill that we can heat 25,000 homes.
Rumpke also uses compressed natural gas from its landfill to power dozens of its trucks.
This is the largest landfill to natural gas project in the world.
In the fall of 2013, Rumpke opened a state-of-the-art $32 million MRF, short for Material Recovery Facility, in St. Bernard, Ohio, near Cincinnati.
For every 10,000 tons of waste that goes to a landfill, you create one job. For every 10,000 tons you can recycle, you create between 8 to 10 jobs. And that multiplies itself. We have over 100 employees here in Cincinnati based on recycling materials that were at one time going to the waste stream. What a great story.
Today, recycling begins with you at your home or business. Items we accept for recycling are limited to plastic bottles and jugs, cartons with the caps and straws removed, glass bottles and jars of any color, aluminum, steel, and tin cans, and paper, including cardboard, newspaper, office paper, junk mail, phone books, magazines, and clean pizza boxes.
In the early days, we separated everything at the curb. So all of the 2 liters went in one section of the truck, all the glass by color went in a different section, the newspaper went in its own section.
We don't want people to think it's too difficult to recycle. That's one of the reasons that we implemented single stream recycling, to make it easier for our customers. You just, put it in the bin all together. You don't have to separate it.
The trash goes in one container, recyclables in another. You leave both containers at the curb for Rumpke to collect, and your job is done.
The recycling, it felt like I'm doing something to preserve something, giving back instead of throwing it all away.
A lot of times when I talk to students, we talk about examples. How can you reduce? Have your own reusable water bottle instead of a new one every day, or using a reusable shopping bag when you go to the grocery store. How could you use this for something else?
For Rumpke, the process is just beginning. Think of recycling as wading into a never-ending river of recyclables and dividing various materials into separate streams. The idea is to separate each material so it can be compressed into bales and sold.
In a modern-day material recovery facility, I kind of look at it as like peeling an onion. You have this big agglomeration of material, and you're going to try to pull off each layer of that material, so you're left with nothing but different layers of material in different bunkers. We're kind of disassembling something instead of putting it together.
55 tons of recyclable materials are processed at the MRF every hour. From here, it's sorted into separate streams by a combination of people and technology, using a complex system of chutes and conveyors. Sorters are located at various stations throughout the process, each pulling out stuff that either doesn't belong or could gum up the works. Some technology is designed to shake and sift apart specific recyclables from the rest. Other machines, called disc screeners, send the stream of materials over spinning discs that propel larger items, like cardboard sheets, along the line, while allowing smaller items, such as plastics, steel, and aluminum cans, to fall through gaps between the discs, down chutes to other conveyor belts. Another machine is the angled sorter, a wide conveyor tipped at an angle and inclined at a sharp upward angle so that three-dimensional items, like water bottles, roll off onto a conveyor below, while newspapers continue on to their destination. Other technologies at work in the MRF are an overhead magnet that attracts the metal cans and an eddy current used to separate aluminum cans. The eddy current uses rare earth magnets to repel the aluminum cans, causing them to jump several feet forward, while other material falls onto a separate conveyor. Rumpke uses optical scanners to detect newspaper, cartons, plastic water and 2-liter bottles, along with other plastic containers like milk jugs and laundry detergent bottles. The scanners project a beam of infrared light onto a fast-moving conveyor belt and determine what kind of material is passing by. If the item is something the scanner is set to identify, it instantly sends a message to a computer, triggering a quick blast of air to divert the item to another conveyor. Once the recyclables have been separated, they're pressed into bales that can weigh anywhere from 800 pounds for aluminum cans to well over a ton for paper. Bales are loaded onto trucks or railroad cars and shipped to factories to be made into something new. Rumpke ships bales of newspaper, for example, to such faraway destinations as China and India.
The great thing about the U.S. is we generate very good quality material, and the rest of the world wants it.
Glass makes up 15 to 20% of what Rumpke collects from its residential customers.
We now, in Cincinnati and Columbus, send our broken mixed glass to our state-of-the-art glass recovery facility in Dayton, Ohio.
There, it's ground into particles the size of a grain of sand and used to manufacture fiberglass insulation. Optical scanners are also used to sort larger pieces of glass according to color, whether it's clear or amber, to be made into new bottles. Either way, glass can be recycled over and over again. So that's how recycling happens at Rumpke. From the company's earliest days back in the 1930s, Rumpke has always looked for ways to find value in all the stuff you throw away, as well as ways to manage and control the river of garbage, to put less of it in the ground and more of it back to good use.
As the world is evolving, just as recycling is evolving, there are always new opportunities for new areas where we can recycle stuff.
Every year the recycling rates go up and the trash rates come down. I think there will come a day where recycling and waste become similar, and even one day that we actually maybe we're recycling more than we throw away.
There is more to our day than just what we can take and that we need to give back. And that's very, very important, whether it's recycling or thinking about the amount of water that we use or the energy that we use. All of those different things all fit together to make a picture of being responsible in the way you live your life.
Yes, I like to think I'm playing a part of that.
Recycling is, in some ways, still a frontier, but it's becoming more and more a part of our culture and everyday lives. It's about all of us doing our part. In the end, the story of Rumpke Recycling is about a family with a true sense of purpose and a deep feeling of responsibility to preserve the planet for generations to come. At the same time, it's a story of the pride the Rumpke family and their extended family of 2,000-some employees take in the services they perform and the work they do, every day, all year long, in every kind of weather imaginable, as long as we have stuff to throw away.